Holy fuck. Good times.
All right, episode 6. This shit's about to suck. I'm gonna go ahead and admit it.
Like I said last episode, it's gonna be deep. A lot deeper than the last one.
Yep. Sorry,
Debatably
it's
the
lunchtime.
most, debatably the deepest one. Question mark.
Could be, yeah. So we got a third right now. Special guest, Skinner.
Playing trios right now.
Uh huh.
And trios.
Tackling problems with a third. Sorry, I'm very hungry.
Hey, we could have waited for you to eat.
Well, too late.
Snack away.
I will.
Looking like this one's not only just deep because of the topic, but because of the effects that this topic has on people.
Yeah.
So yeah, today's we're talking about trauma. So might want to buckle in for this one.
Yeah, we're gonna try to keep it under like our normal 2 hour mark, but we'll see how it goes.
Another two-parter. Please no.
No, no, I don't want to do two-parter. It's a lot to do that.
Yeah, 3.5 was crazy. Or whatever it was.
So trauma, right? I mean, I guess we can just jump into like different types of trauma. One of the biggest things, well, I don't want to say one of the biggest things, but like obviously there's really mainly, as far as I can tell, two different types, and it's like emotional versus physical trauma. A lot of people experience physical trauma when they're like, the big one is like sports and just getting injured and stuff like that.
That's crazy. I actually didn't think about it like that. I was not even thinking about that.
Well, I mean, there's also
I
physical
was thinking,
abuse.
oh no, I was thinking much worse in my head when I read physical.
Well, or war.
Yeah, I was going that deep instantly. I don't know why, but
Yeah,
I was instantly thinking like somebody losing a limb, you know.
more of your, yeah, more of your like, I mean, your physical ailments. Yeah, like
Right.
losing a limb, tearing an ACL or whatever.
Yeah, breaking an arm, a
Stuff
finger.
like that is a lot easier to get through, in my opinion, with, you know, because obviously you're going to go through like physical rehab and,
I mean, especially with like a broken leg or something, you know. So you can walk again.
yeah, you'll, I mean, even the instances where you won't be able to do the things that you used to be able to do.
Oh yeah. I mean, the way it happened, you know, that'd
Yeah,
be very traumatizing.
with physical trauma, a lot of it is very closely connected to emotional trauma because I had heard a story about someone. I don't remember exactly what happened, but they had gotten hurt, and the first thing they said was, "I let my mom down."
Yeah.
Hmm.
And so I mean, yeah, it's like for them it was probably more on the emotional side than it was the physical side.
Right.
It's one of those things too, like where physical kind of ties more into emotional. Like as far as like if you have a physical trauma, it's more likely to cause emotional than
Mm-hmm.
having an emotional trauma is to cause somebody to have physical trauma.
Right.
It almost goes hand in hand with emotional, whereas you can actually have an emotional trauma that kind of stands alone.
Yeah. More just a mental battle than a physical.
Exactly, because sometimes that physical battle can cause more emotional problems as it goes on and lingers as you're trying to go through a therapy or trying to work through whatever happened.
Right.
Especially when you have to start to relinquish control of your life to someone else, because now
Oh
you
man.
can't do the things that you used to be able to do. You can't be as
Right.
independent.
Well, especially if you're, yeah, exactly. When you're like a very independent person, you have to give up that control to let someone help you.
Dude,
It
even
plays
when
with you
it's
a little
just,
bit.
even when it's just for like a couple months, like
Mm,
you're on crutches for 6 months or in a wheelchair for 6 months. I mean,
Mm-hmm. One good example, when I was like 14 or 15, and I tore my ACL because me and my uncle were just like fucking around, and it was like ripped to the point where like I could not walk on it at all. And so for like, I can't remember exactly the time frame, but I think it was like 6 months. For like 6 months, I could not walk. Like I had to have someone get up in the middle of the night and help me to the bathroom.
right.
And it's like as a kid, you don't know how to deal with that. It's like really, really hard to deal with that. It's like I can't even use the bathroom on my own, let alone make
Right.
food or, you know, do whatever. And then like you wake up in the middle of the night crying and you're just like, fuck, dude. Like what do I do? You start to feel like you're a burden like on the people that you care
mhm.
about.
Right.
And that's where it usually starts to tie into that emotional part, like heavily too. Other than just that, it's just like starting to feel like a burden amongst somebody else, just making them be a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Especially when you come from not having to have that person
Hmm.
do everything for you because you don't have the ability to do it, you know?
Like sometimes it's a little easier when you consistently have somebody there to not necessarily wait on your hand and foot, but you know that you have that kind of support if something was to happen. But then
Right.
like when you have nothing and you get physically injured, it's like
Oh,
fuck,
dude.
dude, you know.
I couldn't imagine like you live on your own, you break both your legs and you just can't do nothing.
Do nothing anymore, man.
Right.
I mean, at that point now you're paying the hospital for a nurse to come every day, certain
Hmm.
times. God, dude.
Yeah, and that's even worse, right? Like that tie, like Skinner was saying, like that ties way more into the emotional side because you have a random person, a stranger, that you have to have
Right.
come into your house and
Take
basically,
care of you.
yeah, basically be your mom or your dad or whatever for X
Right.
amount of time, and it sucks, man. It makes you feel like you're just a burden and like like you don't deserve it and
Right. Especially with somebody who's already pushing deep into that emotional trauma and thinking that
Hmm.
it should have just been worse to where they wouldn't have had to deal with somebody
mm,
having to take
Exactly.
care of them, you know?
It can go down a deep rabbit hole quickly.
Oh yeah. Especially on a very bad physical trauma like that.
And especially when it comes from like, especially like, I don't know, like physical wise, like especially someone who's heavy working with their, the limbs, especially like when you said losing a limb, ACL tears, things like that. Someone who uses that primarily for their way of living, as in athletes, construction workers, things like that. Like when they do something like that, they can hinder them from forever working again in that field.
Oh
It takes
man,
away their way
yeah.
of living that they've worked at for, years. The only thing they've built themselves upon, a lot of their personality and things that they know are built around that one thing.
Hmm.
they start to
You take
lose
away
their
their
purpose,
livelihood. Hmm.
Yeah. Especially when they're the person who was the primary provider, bro.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, like realistically, the only way to work through it is to. I mean, it sounds bad, but to just focus on yourself and get better. Just get better as best as you can.
Right. That physical therapy, that emotional therapy if you need it.
Taking proper medications
Right.
to
Because
deal
I
with
mean,
pain.
it's not to say that everybody who has a physical trauma ends up with emotional trauma, you know?
No, no, no.
So,
No, Because
I mean,
It's just
I had broke my arm before, and there wasn't much of a change on the effects of like other people around me.
right.
But like on myself, right? Like I broke my left hand, and I'm left-handed.
Yeah, so
So
it's
it's
like
like,
what, a couple months you just can't really write anything,
yeah,
you know?
I have to relearn everything until it, you know, it,
right.
Right. Yeah, I did the same
What
with my right.
What's also kind of weird with physical trauma there is like, in that sense of breaking your arm or whatever, it's also dependent on how people around you act during the moment of it. It's weird enough to say that. Like, say like you broke your arm in front of a group. If no one reacted, for some reason, like in your mind, a lot of the times you won't immediately snap into an emotional part of it. You may think, oh, everything's fine. No one really thought it was that bad at first. You're
Mm-hmm.
keeping yourself calm. But if you do it, you fall, trip, break your arm right in front of like me and Link, and we start losing our minds about how bad it looks or whatever,
Right.
you immediately go into a panic.
mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that's
It's
yeah.
ve- it's very dependent on how it was perceived at the time of it happening too.
Right.
Like we all watched Scarred when it was, or when it was on, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Yeah, I definitely
seeing
watched
that
it.
shit. I've seen a lot of episodes where people would like, they would just completely fuck themselves up, and yeah, it may hurt, but they didn't realize the full extent of their injuries until their friends are like, "Holy fuck, I can see your bone."
Right. Or
Yeah,
like till they finally got them to the hospital and they actually were
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh, this doctor is telling me like,
yeah,
Like I'll
dude."
never skate again. I'll never ride a bike
Right.
yeah.
again. Type shit.
And
Yeah.
it's usually those terms right there that can make or break somebody on the emotional side too. Like somebody who's very strong-willed can usually, can sometimes, I'm not going to say very often, but can turn that into a way of like motivation. Some
Hmm.
people, it crushes them, completely mentally and turns them into a whole different person.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Hearing
even
your one dream getting told like it's not going to happen.
right. And it's crazy how a simple like just breaking your wrist could do that, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's
And
funny we actually mentioned like how others react about it because when I broke mine, it was actually very stupid. Was was jumping to a different limb on a tree and it was too big. I slipped off and fell right on my wrist. And a person who I stopped considering a friend not long after that for other reasons was like, "Yeah, bullshit. You would be crying if it was really broken." And I was like, "You realize people have a pain tolerance, right? Like, just because you are crying doesn't mean that I would cry."
yeah, and in that same instance, I mean, you're jumping from a tree limb. You probably had adrenaline rushing as soon as you launched from tree
Oh
limb.
yeah, and
So
then even more of a burst of adrenaline once I realized I didn't make
yep,
it. You know?
yeah. Once you realize the fall hits, that adrenaline kicks in almost instantly. You don't feel that until about 15 minutes later.
Right. And then just for me to go to the hospital, they put the splint on it, and they're like, "All right, Friday like is the only available appointment. That's when you get your cast." Blah 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 blah. And then go back to hanging out with the friends, and he was like, "Oh, you really did break it." I was like, "I mean, just because I didn't cry doesn't mean I didn't break.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Just because you can walk doesn't mean it's not broken."
Mm-hmm.
You see it all the time with like professional athletes and things. They'll break their leg, literally snap it live on camera, and
And then like
never even make
walk
a
off the
reaction.
field. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll sit down and look at it and just stare.
Mm-hmm. Or like I seen
And
one where this guy like broke his neck and like was just like, all right, well, I'm gonna just walk off the field and then medics will come check me out.
Come to find
yeah,
out, dude's got a freaking broken neck. Yeah.
And broken neck, his coach is like, no, dude, you gotta go to the hospital. You're not finishing this game. Like,
right. Well, no, that's like my old like. You hear it all the time from like WWE fans, especially like the New back in the day, Kurt Angle. But it was a real story about him. The dude broke his neck during the Olympics and still won a gold medal.
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
He still continued to fight like 2 or 3 rounds with a broken neck.
Yeah, I would
He
say
just
that's a,
fought
like that's
through it,
a
you know.
I'd say that's a good example on like how it affects you, because like he could have been in the worst pain of his life and just was like,
Hmm.
no, I'm gonna get what I want, like whether this
Yeah,
hurts or not. It's like that's a good like a good head on your shoulders to like literally break your neck and just keep going. Like it's probably not the best decision. Don't get me wrong,
No, not at all.
but the fact that he was like, dude, this hurts so bad, but I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna and then go home with a gold medal, go to the hospital with a gold medal. That's insane,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah, that's
That is insane. That's like
hard for
definition
me to
of
think about, you know.
yeah.
Think
That's
about
like
me in that position because like if I know if I was to ever like seriously injure myself, I'm done like right there. Like if I know that I can't keep going, I'm not gonna keep going. Like I'm just,
oh,
and that's just my
And you know,
mindset though.
somebody
I'd
put him
rather
aside
get
and told him.
right. That's straight definition of like I'm not gonna have emotional trauma from this.
yeah.
To just like get up, dust yourself off, arm just hanging, dangling, and you're like, I'm gonna do it again.
Hmm.
Yeah. You're not gonna do this again. No, give me 1 minute and we'll talk about it.
I'm gonna do it again.
And I mean, it's crazy too because I've seen a lot of people in my specific profession just completely destroy themselves.
Oh,
But
physically and mentally.
yeah, but like at the end of the day, it's like their pride doesn't let them stop, which is both a
Mhm.
good and a bad thing. Because like yeah,
Right.
you might be able to make it to the finish line, but at what cost? You know.
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And then like going into like other forms of like physical injury, you have like TBIs, traumatic brain injuries, where
Mhm.
you don't see it.
You don't even. Yeah. Yeah. You don't even
Can't
see
see
it.
it. Like only the
Mhm.
person that's experiencing it really knows that it's there until they get
Hmm.
checked out. And
Like
it's
one
like
of the ones that's been on the rise that's been like documented lately is CTE, like heavily.
Yeah.
yeah, and like you only ever really see from the outside in the effects that it has on like the person's family or the the shit the people that person is around.
Right.
Mhm.
And like yeah, it may have like effects on like the way that the person with the injury operates, but oftentimes like if you're a very prideful person, like you you just continue as normal, like you
Yeah.
just keep it going.
So
And
long
like
as
you
it
just
lets you.
yeah, you just shift the way that you operate. But I've seen that a lot too, and I mean it's very prevalent with you know people in football. They'll get
Mhm.
concussions and or TBIs, and they'll go home to their families, and it's just like they're different people.
Right.
They're completely
One of the
different people.
biggest ones from that one, AB, as they or Antonio Brown, for people who don't know him as well enough, is like that's the initials. But Antonio Brown was one of the biggest ones for CTE. Used to be like one of the top wide receivers in the NFL. Got hit one time coming across the middle of the field to the head, and ever since then, like almost lost it mentally. He would go across the field doing erratic things.
Hmm.
He got kicked off of multiple teams after that. Basically bankrupted himself twice.
Right.
Hmm.
Or like, who was
He just
that? I don't know if he was a boxer or UFC fighter or whatever, but like really good, like had a title or whatever, like a
mhm.
really good record. He got hit in the back of the head one time, and now he's like, he can barely walk. He can barely talk. I
Oh, I
don't
was
even think he
gonna.
can talk.
Yep, I was gonna bring that up earlier. He is actually barely talking now. I can't remember his name either, but he was
Oh,
fighting,
yeah.
and they have a clip of the guy that actually injured him. I was about to say, even somebody that caused physical trauma to someone else can cause so much emotional trauma to themselves.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Even if
Because
you
like,
weren't even physically affected,
even if you didn't have the physical damage, like even if you just saw it happen,
right?
because even and especially when you're involved with the reason it happened to someone else, like, and it's
And
not,
like,
and in that sense, it's his job. Like, it was his job to go in there and do such thing. Like, he was told to go in there and fight this person. So all he knew was to
right,
hit them. He wasn't expecting this. He probably fought 300 fights before that day in his amateur
Yep.
career and never once seen someone go down with that traumatic of an injury.
Right, exactly. And then just to think that like you caused it and it was an accident, like
Mhm.
because we've seen the clip, we've seen the clip, like they were trying to stop it, like call it a timeout
Mhm.
or whatever, and he
Mhm.
just didn't notice, and then the
Yeah.
dude turned his head and he hit him right in the back of the head, and that's a prime example of why that rule is in place in all forms of like fighting sports.
Yes.
Hmm. And then to kind of go on the other like side of the spectrum, right? Like because we've been talking about a lot of like sort of instantaneous times where people would get, injuries. But Muhammad Ali is a great example.
Yeah.
He fought his entire life,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't until like you seen him in his later years where he started to really show the symptoms
Yep.
of
Oh, yeah.
all of his injuries.
And it's
So
crazy though,
Those
because if you
long
watch
term.
some of his earlier interviews, he showed very minor symptoms of it because he started from his early days. He was very clear spoken. Towards his middle career, he would start to try to keep those little rhythm flows, and like he was known for one of the first boxers to use like a musical style to trash talk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you know what I mean, like he always used rhymes to trash talk people,
Right, right.
and he himself towards the middle of the career would even find himself stuttering on words or having to re-say things because he couldn't catch himself and finish the sentence.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't even like you said, it wasn't enough for him to physically know what was going on. He just thought, I'm stumbling on words, I'm getting anxious in front of a crowd, or
Right,
having an issue speaking, and then suddenly, you know, 30 years later, he comes to find out, no, I have a severe brain problem that is just
right.
slowly making its way to me.
That he just didn't notice, you know?
Mm-hmm. And then to
You
That,
know,
kind of
that
go ahead.
I was like, and that can cause a lot too on like the family side for him. Like we were
oh,
saying,
yeah.
they see it happen over the years, but they don't see it enough to actually stop it or get him checked out. And maybe they didn't have the technology at the time to find it, but at the same time, they didn't
Right,
see it fast enough to say, hey, something's severely wrong. You need to stop. And then they
right,
see it 30 years down the line when they finally acknowledge it, and they're kind of like, what could we have done to stop this?
right. I mean, he also could have very well, like, noticed it and was just telling them, like, I don't care, I'm going to keep going kind of deal, you know?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, but I mean, either
You
way,
never
like
know.
you're saying, you know, that's a real, it's a real big emotional trauma on you, your family, you know, to be like one of the greatest at what you do, and then over time you just start bogging down, bro.
You stop being the
And then
greatest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
I
it's right
mean,
at
we
the age where like they're expecting you to become that next like generational teacher for boxing, being able to like, for him especially, like in that sense, being able to be the next generation, teach the next people. And now you're at an age where your mental finally went away from you because of boxing,
right.
and you can't pass any of your experiences on because even at his older age, he couldn't speak at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He lost his ability to speak, so now
Oh,
he
and
can't even.
he
Yeah.
was barely moving too, you know.
Like they showed him like doing clips, like asking him to show like a boxing, like when he was sitting on a couch one day. I remember he was like barely moving his hands, like it was just pumping like this. And I'm like, I feel so bad for him because you can see he still wants it. Like
Yeah,
he still
Yeah.
wants to show
he
it.
wants to do it so bad. I
In
mean,
his in his
like we
mind, it
just
was
seen with
like
the.
this
Go
is
ahead.
how it did. Like he can visualize it, and he sees it
Hmm.
in his
Right.
mind, but his body just doesn't
They just can't
really
move
have
that
it.
Hmm.
fast anymore, dude. Like we just seen with Ozzy, like
I'm
Yep.
RIP
glad
to
you
all
brought it
these
up
guys,
because I
you
was
know.
gonna bring it up too.
Yeah, like like RIP to all those guys that were the greatest at what they did. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
literally, like I guess it was kind of self-proclaimed with Ozzy, but like after so long, bro, everybody just realized like, yeah, that's the Prince of Darkness, bro. That's like top rock star
Oh yeah.
right there for sure. To see that last concert, bro. And y'all have all seen the videos and heard everything. Like he stopped taking his pain medicine just to put the best show that he could because he didn't want to slur his words. Like they had him belted into that chair so he couldn't get up
Yep.
because he's stage 4 Parkinson's. Like,
Yeah, he had a custom made chair, custom made
yeah,
wheelchair made
to
into a
look like that
throne
chair, yeah.
just so he can sit on
Do his
stage the entire
very
concert.
last, yeah, dude. And to see him like want to get up knowing that he can't, bro. Like he wanted to give everything he could to us.
I
But
think
like even that shows like a bad life choices. I mean, which he did very great things. He made a lot of money. His family's well taken care of. But just all the drugs and everything he did, you know,
yeah,
that
Yep.
even that alone is it's gonna add up and start causing physical trauma, you know.
and I mean drugs aside, but just the toll that it takes on your body to do a job like that because it's not just that, it's
Mhm.
like the constant touring, the constant never
Oh
being able
yeah,
to settle down.
Well, yeah, you
moving
don't have
and
a sleep schedule. It's never consistent because you may do a
Sleep,
show
yeah.
tonight at 9 p.m. and be one state over and have to be there for a show at 1 p.m. the next day after
And
getting
yeah,
4 hours of sleep and putting on another 4 hour show
or
to
no
travel
sleep.
2 states over. Yeah, or no sleep to travel 2 states over now and do a show in 18 hours.
Right. Or dude, even for him, like being big worldwide, not just in the US, he's over here in the States doing a show, but he's got one tomorrow in Germany or whatever. And so he's got to just get out, get on the flight, go, and then do it again. Probably didn't even sleep.
Well, for a lot of artists, like that's the reason why they'll only tour one country at a time, or like a group of
Mhm.
countries
Right.
at a time. Like in Europe, a lot of
Yeah,
countries
because it makes it a lot easier.
because the
Well,
logistics
especially in
doesn't
yeah,
work out.
right, especially in those countries over there, like you said in the UK and stuff, because they're a lot more tight knit. Just doing states over here is hard enough to do a US tour
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
because, like they say, I mean, it's like adding a whole entire section of the UK over there to make up for 10 or 12 states.
yeah.
Right.
But like you were saying,
Actually,
like and not having sleep, like that's probably one of the biggest ones, is
mm-hmm.
because like you get done with your show and you have to do your part in the packing up, even if it's not like stage stuff, but you do your
Yeah.
part and your band does their part. And then
Right.
you still got to, like, for those that write songs on tour, you're
Mm-hmm.
fucking going back to your tour bus and on the road, you're songwriting, you're
You're
trying
still
to make
working.
sure you're eating, and then you
Uh-huh.
get to the next place and you're probably going to be working out. You're going to be fucking kind of hanging out a little bit. Like
Right.
you have no time
Oh yeah. I mean,
realistically to do the things
you're
that you need to do.
you're doing all that physical stuff on stage just to get back on your bus or get in your plane and then do all that physical or that mental exercise of writing another song, working on the next album. Like you're exhausting yourself with a lifestyle like that, especially being as big as he was, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And then you want to continue being big. That's kind of what you have to do. It's the sad thing about it. You kind of have to just basically work 24/7, you know.
And stuff like that, man, it's hard to work through. Like there's not really much of an outlet, you know, because
No.
you're constantly pushing yourself. You're constantly going and going and going,
No.
and you don't really
I,
realize the effects until it's too late.
I do think
Mm.
that's why it's. I mean, I can't really speak from experience. I'm not an artist, but I'm not a musical artist. But I would say it's probably a little easier now because they could just like set up a stage and then just live stream it on YouTube, you know?
Yep.
And it's just anybody anywhere that has access to YouTube can see it. So I mean, it could be
Oh,
a little
absolutely.
easier now, like especially nowadays. Like we've already seen it with like Fortnite doing a Marshmello concert, you know?
Yeah,
So
but like
I mean, of course, he's still going to do IRL concerts, but
yeah,
It's the
you have
same
that,
deal with like content
yeah,
creators are making the same amount of money as actual like full-fledged musicians doing tours right now. Like content creator musicians that are only doing it from TikTok, doing it from
mm-hmm,
Twitch, things like that are making the same amount of money as your actual full-fledged I'm going on tour this year musicians.
right.
Like the record deal musicians aren't making the same money as some of these people.
And I mean, dude, that would help on the physical side
Hmm.
alone, you know.
They
but
started figuring it out a way to do it without taking that toll on you and continuing to do what you love.
Mm-hmm.
but that's the thing too is like a lot of artists, at least from what I've seen, the interviews that I've watched, a lot of artists hate doing stuff like that because of the fact that they have no interaction with their fans.
Right. They want to
Absolutely.
be on that stage
Yeah.
It's yeah,
in
being
person.
there and then feeling that because you can't feel energy through a computer
Oh
screen.
no,
Oh yeah.
absolutely
And I'm,
not.
and even as a consumer, bro, like you you find this artist on TikTok, on YouTube, or Spot, wherever you find them. You at some point you're just like, dude, I would love to see these people in person. So
Hmm.
you're
Yeah,
scouring every time they post. You're like, I cannot wait until they post on YouTube that they are doing a tour, and I am going to that place
yep,
because you know that. I mean, you want it just as much as they want that personal connection with a crowd.
Well, yeah, they want that person like yourself to be there. They want that person that was super excited, waiting years for them to do this because that's what they came there for was to meet those fans that were
Right.
dead set wanting to be there, know every song, know
Oh
everything,
yeah.
about them. They want to have that connection with a fan that they can do the same thing and give them a little peace and happiness in there.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, because for a lot of them, it's not about the money, you know.
Mm-mm. And for a
Yeah.
lot of the people, it's not just the music; it's a comfort for them. It's they may have trauma
Yeah.
linked to the music itself, and they want to get that released by seeing it in a concert is much different than hearing it through a pair of headphones.
Oh yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh yeah. But I mean, like you said, that physical or that release from just listening to it, you know, you're having a bad day on your way to work, and you're
Mm.
playing that song because you relate to it so well, but it helps you get through it.
Yeah. Like for example, the last concert that I went to was a Skrillex and a Millennium concert at EDC, and I've listened to those two artists for years. But
Mhm.
being in the crowd and listening to the music with the crowd and having
Mm-hmm.
that interaction as a fan, like coming from a fan's perspective, it was nothing like just buying an album and
Oh
throwing it
yeah.
on and listening to it, you know?
You
Yeah.
definitely you feel it on a much deeper level, you know.
Yeah.
Well,
And
and you obviously don't get to, in the sense of you don't obviously get to see exactly who they are as people, but you get to see more inside of who they are as a band on that stage. See who they are as
yeah.
performers. See what they do with the crowd. See if
Mm-hmm.
they actually are interactive. See if
Right.
they actually have moments where they stop and see a
Talk for
kid
a
in the
minute.
crowd, point them out, and talk to them, or
Right.
just make it personal. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They're actually they do louder than life in my down the street from my house every year. And there was a kid in the crowd holding the sign ups to one of the bands. I don't remember what it was. Actually, it was Green Day, and he was like, "I can play the guitar. Like I can play any song from y'all's
Hmm.
any song that y'all play. I can play it on the guitar." So they brought him on stage. Actually, this kid is pretty big on TikTok now because of it. But they brought him on stage and let him play one of the songs, and they let him keep the guitar, bro. That's a
Is that the
connection that you
Youngblood one?
can. No,
Because I
no.
saw one with him that did that.
Yeah, he did it
I
too.
seen the Youngblood one, yeah.
But yeah, Green Day did it, and at Louder Than Life in person, mind
Oh
you.
shoot, that's cool.
Side note: it cost them like $2.3 million to even get Green Day to play there. So they paid a
Exactly.
lot of money for them to play. I mean, they came from the UK, but
Right.
so of course it was that alone was expensive. But I mean, dude, that's a connection that you can never beat, dude. Is
Well, yeah.
get on stage, even as an adult, to get on stage with your idol and play with the people that you've listened to your
Oh yeah.
entire life.
Well, that's like not in the same sense of getting on stage with them, but like I know personally, I went to the Five Finger Death Punch concert with Bree this year,
Yeah.
and even there, he has like a symbol that he does. Ivan, the lead singer of Five Finger, he has a bat that he brings with him on tour. He's had it ever since he was sober from his problems. On tour, he would usually hit it on stage. It's been dented, battered, and bruised. He saw a kid in the crowd while he was there, walked up to her, a little girl, let her keep that one piece of memorabilia from him that he carried for
Hmm.
an entire year
A
that held that
priceless
much,
piece.
yeah, a thing that held so much of a mental hold on him.
Hmm.
He let a little kid have it just as a memorabilia of that concert, and she'll remember that forever. You know,
Hmm. Could you
she'll grow up with that
imagine?
piece.
Wild.
Could you imagine all the emotional attachment he has to that thing, dude?
Yeah,
Like whether
he
it's
has beaten it on
bad or
stage
good.
every time he's thought about doing drugs or doing anything of that nature on stage.
Yeah, dude. Like all that negative, like you almost got to think that that's like a part of. Not only is he like giving this kid like something they'll never forget, you know,
Hmm.
but like he's also letting go of so much that he's holding back. Like it, he could be definitely like I'm gonna give this to her because like I see her in the crowd, she's knowing every song, every word, blah 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 blah, you
Yeah,
know, all that, and he loves it. But he's also like maybe it is time for me to get rid of this thing. Like
yeah,
maybe I've
it's a
gotten to that
symbol of
point
him
now
letting
that
it go.
yeah, maybe I've gotten to that point that all this emotional trauma that I've had from doing drugs and doing this and doing that is not a problem anymore.
And I think
Yeah,
that's a good that's another good way to cope with a lot of it.
Oh yeah,
mhm.
Is the
because I mean
things that
to
caused you or remind you of that
mm-hmm,
instance,
to
get
let
rid
go
of
of
them.
it, right?
I can't tell you. So one big thing for me is like clothing, right? Like the clothing that I used to wear when would go through bad experiences, I would get rid of it. And
Mhm.
I have like I've done like wardrobe changes, and I mean I don't wear expensive clothing. Like it's so it is what it is. But it's a small little gesture of like, hey, this is this is what I was in when it happened. This is
Mhm.
I'm getting rid of it. And it's just an
Right.
easy way to kind of it's a easy physical way to see your problems sort of leave or kind of cope with it.
Right.
It
Yeah, I mean
just sucks
sometimes
though
that
when you spend
physical.
good money on like certain things and it's like
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. You get rid of like $100 pair of sunglasses or something,
right.
but every time you looked at them or put them on, you couldn't help but think about what happened
Hmm.
August 27th, 2024. I don't. Nothing happened on that day. I just made a random date.
Oh yeah.
That day
Well, that's
means
especially the problem about them
something to
for
somebody out
specific
there.
events.
Yes, I'm sorry if that was your date. But I mean, yeah, like that is a nice thing to do, especially like what you said, like with your clothes. Like, dude, every time I put this sweater on, I can't help but think about the fact that I thought about myself, or I was doing these things wearing this similar type of sweater. Like,
Hmm.
all right, it's time to get rid of it. I'm holding on to it because you might not see it, but I mean, you're definitely still holding on to that trauma when you're still holding on to that piece.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
That's like it's like another way, like you said, it's some things like that are like coping mechanisms for people holding on to certain things and of that nature. And there's good like people giving them away could be the symbol of letting it go. I've
Hmm.
always heard of another way they talked about it. It's been like I think they call them like a burn book or something of that nature. You write all the things that you've ever had that cause
Yeah.
you a mental issue, physical issue, and take it when you finally feel like you're ready to let it all go.
Hmm.
Toss it into a pit or burn it, right in front of yourself, and it shows to yourself, I'm letting all this go. It's gone now. Stop thinking about it.
Yeah. I actually got Steven to do that, and
Yeah.
it surprised me that he did. He
It,
didn't do the actual burn book that you can buy that's marketed
Right.
as a burn book, but he did do it.
But it's still, it's seeing yourself write those down and acknowledge them that can do a lot for yourself.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's one of the first steps is acknowledging that it's actually a problem that's eating away at you rather than just to shove it away. It
Dude,
takes a lot
yeah.
to take it yourself and sit down and say, no, this is what it is.
exactly.
Yeah.
The first step is admitting you have a problem,
Yeah.
like you
That's
said,
literally what
dude.
it is. Like that you ever go through AA or fucking
Anything, dude.
yeah any kind of program. It's yeah the first step is always going to be admitting you have
Yeah.
a problem and
Mm-hmm.
identifying the problem.
But
Mm-hmm.
you can never address something that you don't acknowledge is there.
Oh
Exactly.
yeah.
It's
Because
easy to sit here and
Mhm.
say like, oh no, that's not it. That's not
Right.
Yeah.
it.
But I
That's
mean,
not it. Whatever.
but also in some cases they just don't see it. They don't
Mhm.
they don't understand it. They don't comprehend it. Whatever.
Well,
They
sometimes it
don't.
takes that
You know.
life-changing event to hit them, right in the gut to
Right.
show them, something
Mm-hmm.
changing that totally changes their outlook on life is what it takes to get them to see the small issue that it may have been.
Right. I mean, we see that a lot in alcoholism, bro.
Hmm.
Like
Yep.
your dad doesn't understand that it's affecting your mom and your brothers and sisters that much until they finally let go of it and realize, like, holy crap, dude. Like, I
Yeah.
was I
Well, they
was
see it as a
wrecking
release.
cars, and yeah.
At the time, they see it as a release, and when you're in that state, you don't feel as if you were an issue. You don't feel
Mm-hmm.
as if it was causing a problem because then you were at ease.
Yeah, you don't
Everything to
see
you
that
was at
trauma.
peace.
You don't see that trauma, and also, I mean,
Hmm.
too much of it that's back to physical and emotional. You're giving emotional trauma to your family,
Hmm.
and then you don't see the physical trauma that's probably going to happen. Your liver failing, you
Yep.
you
Well, that
eat
goes back to
more
the long term
worse.
ones. Like Stephen was saying, the longer term ones, it goes back to that where, you know, as you're drinking is doing such a minute amount of damage at that time that
Mm-hmm.
you're going through and can go for, months and months not missing a drink, not realizing that, 1% of your functions going down in your liver or kidney.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't affect you enough for you to notice it until it's too late.
Oh yeah, and it doesn't help with like when you do it for so long, so
Mhm.
much that once you finally do, you have the shakes, you have the withdrawals in general.
And I mean, I know there's personal experiences there for myself, like as far as people I know that have went through that same problem
Mhm.
itself. And it was the reason they, don't have someone today is because of the constant
Yeah.
drinking. And it wasn't the fact that they, got into an accident, anything like that. It was the sudden stop trying to get better, but they had done it for so long that their
Yeah.
body craved it.
Oh yeah, and that's the problem with it is it's like it turns into one of those things where it's just if your body doesn't have it, it's going to start shutting down, you know.
Yeah, it happens, and that,
Right.
it's a very unfortunate part of it because like I said, a lot of people see it as a small enjoyment or a small ease, at the end of the
Mhm.
day, which it can be if
Yeah, like
done
in
in moderation.
moderation. Yeah, with moderation, it's not really an issue. It's just the people that take it to alcoholism is
Exactly.
and I'm not trying to talk bad on them because like my family comes from it, which is a big part of why I
Well, no,
don't drink at all.
that's a big issue too. Is a lot of people don't take that into effect either. Is that like it does run in family blood, like hereditary. Being an alcoholic, it can be.
Oh
A lot
yeah.
of people can have the gene to be more of an addictive personality to it in
Hmm.
itself. Like some people can take drinking for 4 months, cut it out, and never have a problem. Some people
Yeah.
take their first sip of alcohol and are hooked.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's also one of those things where it's like it's like a generational curse, like we've talked about
Mhm.
before. You know, like especially being young, you grow up, you see it all the time. You see your grandpa, your mom, your whatever having a good time every time they're drinking, like they're partying, they're playing music. You're not seeing it as a problem when you're younger because you're not really thinking about it. So then you grow up and
Absolutely.
start doing the same thing. You don't realize that it's a problem. You know.
Well, that's where the old phrase "never forget where you came from" can have multiple meanings because a lot of people think of it as a successful term. Whenever you get successful, don't forget where you came from. Never forget your friends, your people that helped you get there. Same
Mm-hmm.
sense it can be used in never forget the traumas that you got, grown up with that you were built upon that made you the person you are today because you yourself can repeat that same trauma if you do not try to break that cycle. Then you will lead your kids, your family, whoever you're around into that same circle, that same loop you're in, and
Yeah.
you'll never get out if you don't think about it yourself as a way like in that sense alcoholism say like your family has a very long history of it, knowing
Right.
that you need to stay away from drinking is one of those things you just have to do.
Yeah. And it could be the hardest thing, like not even just with drinking. It can be the hardest thing to even see.
Yeah.
Like that's why it's good to have that person that stands behind you saying like, "Hey, you do realize what you're doing is
Yeah,
bad for you and for us."
and you realize you're taking it too far.
Right. The problem just lies when they don't listen. You know.
Hmm.
I'm glad you
Well,
guys.
that's when it's not necessarily an intervention on that sense. It's like you just got to sit down and try to like bring it to them in a term that they can understand without hurting them mentally to the point where they feel defensive and throw a wall.
Right. Yeah, because sometimes you try to tell them and they take it the wrong way, so they just go do it again. They go do more of it. You know.
I'm glad you guys kind of brought up the whole generational thing because like when I was sort of planning this out, I didn't really think about I didn't think about generational trauma
Hmm.
Right.
because there's certain things even I'm very familiar with it because I mean obviously I've dealt with it before, my family has, and a lot of people have. But as I was kind of going through the ideas and topics and stuff, I was like, you know what? It's like physical, emotional, mental,
Right.
stuff like that. I never once, for whatever reason, never thought about generational trauma. And it's it's funny because the idea of like having problems, being born with problems,
Yeah.
Yeah.
just being born with them.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It has nothing to do with you as a person or
No.
how you react to them or like how you
Yeah. It's
are.
it's not your fault you were born into all that trauma.
Exactly, yeah. Like for example, a good chunk of my family struggles with chemical dependency, and it's not just
Hmm.
alcohol, but kind of a multitude of things. Because
Right.
a lot of my family couldn't deal with the fact of being alone, and so now I still struggle with the idea of being alone.
Generational trauma.
Hmm.
It's a generational curse. Yeah,
It's and see
it's a trauma that you have to work
you
work through.
you saying, when you thought of the topic and you went through the subtopics, the ideas, and not even thinking about that, that just goes to show that sometimes you just don't even see it. You don't even recognize
Yeah.
it as a trauma. Like you're just like, oh well, that's just normal because it's how my
Oh yeah.
family's always been.
Yeah. It's what's normal for the spider is chaos to the fly, right? Like,
Right.
Yep. Well, you
like
become the environment you're around.
Oh
You
yeah.
become one
exactly,
with
yeah.
what you are.
Which then is a whole other, probably a whole other episode, right? Because like you are who you
Right, right,
hang
right.
out with
Right.
is a very deep topic that we could get into.
Yeah. We've touched on that before.
I don't know, man. It's just really interesting. The fact that you
I mean,
guys brought that up just naturally, and
yeah.
I never thought about that. I thought I put
I just
a lot of effort into this,
it's dude.
and I
It's
never
that's
once
how it
thought.
goes. Is sometimes we just like that's what I was trying to tell Skinner like before we started because sometimes there's going to be things that like me and you discussed about and put into our thread here where Skinner's just like, hey, did y'all think about this? Y'all think about that?
Hmm.
But I think the biggest thing for any trauma, generational, emotional, is the way you work through it.
Mhm.
Is the way you try to like help yourself out of it or your friend or family.
And that can be insanely hard sometimes.
Oh, it could be
Mhm.
probably, and I guess we say this a lot, one of the hardest battles because a lot of it is just some of the hardest battles. I mean, you're talking about your mental well-being, your physical well-being. Like, it's definitely always going to be some of the hardest things you do. Because I mean, it's easy to just wake up and go to work. You know, your
Yeah,
phone wakes you up, your alarm clock wakes you up, whatever. You're like, oh, okay, it's 7:30, time to get in the car and go to work. But it's definitely hard to like wake up and just be like, I'm a better version of myself yesterday.
that doesn't make you want to not or want to fucking go to work anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
it's just the idea of like having that mental fortitude of being able to push past whatever your those negative thoughts are, because everybody has them.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
If you don't have them, and if you tell me you don't have them, you're a liar.
Yeah, I don't believe you.
Um,
There's something somewhere that you think negatively about.
Well, that's where it goes back
You
to your
know.
perception of things. Some people try to shove that away, and their perception is a little bit kind of obscured to the fact that they don't see problems anymore. They see it all as just minor inconveniences that they don't consider to actually matter. It's going to be gone tomorrow. It doesn't matter. It'll be gone in 5 minutes. I don't
Right.
have to think about this anymore. But in all reality, a lot of times it comes back in the back of your mind to bite you.
Mm-hmm. And I mean,
especially
sometimes
when
it
you
is the
have
case.
good things going for you. I've
Oh
Yeah,
noticed that
yeah.
a lot. You start to have good things going for you, and then like all of a
All the
sudden
bad
those
things thing don't
traumas
matter.
fucking just come up out of nowhere, and they're just like, all
Mm-hmm.
right, it's not so good anymore. Now you got to deal with it.
Right. Now, I mean, of course, sometimes there's the cases where it doesn't matter, but that's like small stuff. We're talking big deep. You know.
absolutely.
Like life changing things,
Right.
things that you're gonna die thinking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Because having a rude customer should not really affect the way you live your life.
Absolutely.
It
It
depends on the
it shouldn't.
situation. It depends on the
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
No. I mean,
But yeah,
one 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 rude
generally
interaction.
speaking, yeah.
Yeah. Shouldn't. And that's what I'm saying about like in some cases some of those things are just not that big a deal.
Yeah, going back to like the 555 rule.
Right. Yeah, that
Yep.
one's implemented in my life a lot. Skinner, if you haven't heard, it is. Are you gonna be mad about it? Like you said, are you gonna be mad about it in 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, 5 months? If the answer is at some point no, then is it really that big of a
Yeah.
deal?
Yeah.
You
Is it
know?
really worth your time?
Right. And I mean, if at some point you're saying 5 years and you're still saying yes, then it's definitely something
If
you
it's going
should
to fester
worry
that
about.
long.
If you're talking about like this really negatively affected me, but in like 5 hours I'm not going to be mad about it. Don't beat down on it too much. Then
Yep.
Yeah, at that point, it's probably not as important as you think it is.
Right. But I mean, that's how it is. Like with with just trauma in general. You know, it's like because you can be mad about this certain thing for 5 hours, but really it stemmed from a deeper trauma. You know, and you're just not really realizing it, and that's why you're so held up on it for so long.
Hmm.
And you're taking that small thing, all those small things, adding up to the big thing before you finally realize that the big thing was all of those small things the whole time.
Yeah, and I think that's where it's important to, when you come across a problem and you realize like, hey, this is gonna affect me for a long time. It's where you have to kind of sort of look back onto yourself and do some self reflection and be like, hey, this might be because of this. Maybe I'm projecting. Maybe I'm trying to deal with an issue that this other
Hmm.
person doesn't have anything to do with, like I think, for
Hmm.
example, the interaction that me and you had yesterday, I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I think it may have been a result of like both of us sort of kind of projecting towards each other, knowing that
Oh,
we
for
were going to
sure.
knowing that we were going to continuously be there, and so we could just start throwing darts at a dartboard, and like the dartboard's always going to be there, you know what I mean?
Right. It's just which one's gonna stick,
Exactly.
which one's gonna fall out rather.
And so, like,
Yep.
ultimately, you kind of just have to put your pride to the side and just be like, all right, this is what I think it is.
Right.
Let's kind of push through it, whatever,
Right.
and be better
I mean, dude,
better people in
that's
the
a
end.
that's a good like it's a good example of like ways to work through it, like without really going into depth of what we talked about. Like I said, like you said, is like he was feeling some type of way. He's going through some shit. I'm going through some shit. Like we all fucking do. It's human nature. It's normal. But the fact that, he let it build up a little bit and then was letting it out, and I was just like, yo, what the fuck? Like, just tell me, bro. Like, I'm not gonna let a few words let us fall out. Like,
Hmm.
we don't need to go about it the wrong way, you know. So like that, of course, like the kind of the way we led into that little, I guess you could call it argument, was probably the wrong way. But we worked through it by both saying like, hey, both of us are going through some shit. Like we both got a lot on our mind. We're both kind of stressed out right now. Like, let's both parts. My bad. We move on.
Yeah, and I
Because it
think
was also just kind of a little petty thing at the end of the day. Not it was not that deep to where it was going to be like, oh, I don't even fuck with you anymore.
yeah, no, like not never once was it like that
Yeah.
important. I think it was just, it stemmed from a lot of things that were happening on in life, and
Yeah,
so
and,
it was
and
kind of like a,
personals.
yeah, it
Right.
was kind of like a, all right, I can let it out with him, so let's
And
fucking
that's
just
and
do that.
and I mean that's a good way, like good thing to say too, because it's like you were kind of letting some of the other things that wasn't involving me being part of the problem or you being part of the problem. You were letting those things project onto this other problem,
Hmm.
just for us to, talk about it and quickly be like, okay, like we were both having problems and we just both projected, like you said.
Yeah.
We let the wrong problem be the wrong problem when the problem that is the right problem that we need to deal with is over there, not
Yeah.
over here. But we handled it right, which this man told me twice, we're going to talk about it later. And I was like, hell no, I'm going to keep texting you. We're not talking about it later. I don't care if you're at work. I don't care. I'm at work too. We're going to talk about this now. So I'm going to keep sending you messages and we're going to deal with it. Because
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it later.
It was
I
hard.
want to talk about it now.
It was hard for me to talk about it. That's the only reason why I said that, because of what I was doing at work. I was
Right.
like, I can't be fucking.
Which is fine. I would have taken a text message 2 hours later. It wouldn't have mattered. But it was
Either
the fact
way,
that we both realized our wrongs. Like
yeah, it's the recognition of whatever was going on, and then
yeah.
understanding through good communication. We've pretty much set a good foundation in these episodes
Mm-hmm.
to where we can always refer back to an earlier episode.
Yeah, and to let in on another piece of what I've said was our biggest thing so far has been communication, and we both failed at that.
At that
At
moment,
at
yeah,
that at that
yeah.
moment, we had both failed at that.
And that goes to show you, like, it's a skill. It's not a
Oh, yeah,
fucking.
No, nobody's ever gonna be perfect.
right. I
It's a
mean,
skill you build.
Skinner can even account for it. I've even told him where like he's texted me and was just like, well, I texted him and he was like, yeah, I just been busy, had a lot going on, and I'm just like, bro, don't ever hesitate to tell me anything, you know. Like Skinner even knows too. There's random times we're both at work, and I'll give him some reassurance, bro, just cause, you know.
Sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean,
Sometimes a random nice message will help you push through,
even
anything.
even in our petty little argument, I still gave you reassurance, bro.
Yeah, because I mean,
I
at the end
mean,
of the day, you knew it was like, all right, this is
yeah,
straight up some bullshit, and this is what it's gonna be is some bullshit. But like, we're
right.
still going through some shit, whatever, you know. So
But yeah, yeah, and I mean, like I told you, the shit that I'm dealing with is just it's. I mean, you can help me, you can talk about it and help me talk about it, but like at the end of the day, unless you're gonna give me what I need, you can't physically help me.
right,
You know,
Exactly.
and I'm never gonna ask any of you to physically give me what I need right now, because it is my fault I don't physically have what I need.
it's got me curious. But anyway, um,
It's
going in,
money.
going into because so there's one particular trauma that I wanted to wait on because we could definitely take this last hour and talk about it the entire time. But
Hmm.
it's the trauma of loss. And I'm not just talking about the death of a family member, but I'm talking about like any kind of loss.
Please don't make me cry again.
You're probably gonna cry. This is why I
Can
said
I be
this.
excluded?
This is no. This is why I said that this episode is gonna take a lot out of me. Um, yeah. So like, obviously, someone leaving your life in any respect
Any circumstance.
is a very difficult thing to deal with, especially if you give a lot of yourself to said person or said
Yeah.
thing, right? It's not just people, but like things too.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Like a job. You work a job for 10 years and then all of a sudden they fire you for whatever reason. It's gonna
Especially when you
fucking
love
hurt.
that job.
Yeah, it's gonna hurt. You know, you're gonna feel some type of way.
Hmm.
And then you're gonna end up eventually probably hating the person that fired you, even though it wasn't their ultimate decision. They just had to
Oh
be the one
yeah,
that pulled the trigger on it.
it could have came way up above them, you know.
Exactly. But like with loss, when it comes to loss, like the biggest thing that I wish someone would have told me, and it's something I had to sort of realize on my own, was you got to remember the things that you learned, not necessarily the things that you're losing. I used to always like sort of hone in and focus on like the fact that I lost this person. I lost who they are. Like for example, my grandfather. When he died, it was like, damn, now I can't fucking learn any more that he was teaching me. I can't go to the
Hmm.
Right.
skate park with him anymore and shit like that.
Well, just as much as it is losing that person, it's losing those experiences that you were looking forward to. Losing, those
Yeah.
moments that were already ingrained in your brain were going to happen, irregardless.
Yeah.
Right.
And you it's really big to focus on the things that you did experience and that you did learn. Even though sometimes it's hard. Like we are hardwired to remember the bad things of our lives.
Absolutely. It's hard to look at positives when the negatives staring you right in the face.
Exactly.
Right.
And that kind of goes back to what we talked about, is just about like positive self-talk and shit like that. You gotta stay on it. Like it's a skill. Again, it's not something
Mhm.
that just comes with ease to everyone. It's a skill that has to be developed. And to consistently be able to be like, all right, I'm remembering this person. What do I remember? I remember the good things. Like
Right.
that's it's not an easy thing to do all the time. Like I would rather, if I was to pass away, I would rather them be like, damn, I remember the good shit and I miss him, versus, damn, these are all the things I'll never get to do.
All right.
Because
I'm
that's what
gonna
I
do
did.
again or do now.
But and it also goes back to that perspective side because you'll still be sad regardless. But it's like, say, like a major achievement in that sense after a loss, like a graduation from something, be it boot camp, things of that nature, wanting to see that one person there. And then you have to look at it as it's not as they miss this, but you have to look at it as the perspective of they were here with me in spirit and they're proud of me, rather
Yeah.
than I really wish they were here and they could have seen this.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
And that's
You
the
have to
best
start
way to look
twisting
at
that.
it.
It's the
You know,
way
yeah,
that you word it in your own mind is what
hmm
matters.
yeah, you have to kind of
Right.
twist it to a positive for yourself before you let it become a negative.
I mean, it's like I said with my grandma on that. What episode was it, dude? I don't even know anymore. They all feel like episode 3 to me.
It was episode 3.
Jesus Christ! No wonder they all feel like episode
I,
3
look,
is.
I promise you that anything that you say that's like super fucking like in your heart
In my
is gonna be a 3, 6,
episode 3.
9, 12, some kind of derivative of 3.
But I mean, it's like I was saying with that, bro. Like, as much as I wanted her at the wedding, and as much as she wanted to be at the wedding, like we both knew it wasn't possible. But I knew she was gonna be there regardless. You know, sure it wasn't physical, but it's fine. Like it sucks, but it's fine. I know damn well she would be happy. So,
Mhm.
and that's like you said, Skinner. That's like kind of the way you should look at it because that's the best way, you know.
Well, that's like with me and Bree at our wedding. Instead of saying, having somebody at the front saying we really miss them, wish they would be here today in honor of them, in memory of them, like that, we legitimately had seats at the front that were laid out on the front row on the right side for her family members that couldn't be there in spirit, as far as in physical flesh, but could in spirit,
Right.
and some for mine. And we had pictures of them laid on each chair
Hmm.
so that, in a way, in your mind, they are there.
Right.
You see them physically there.
Oh,
It may
yeah.
not be their flesh, them sitting, breathing, talking to you, but you can see their face there. You can envision it there. It changes the way you look at it a little bit. And then, the same
Right.
thing when we brought it to a reception, when they would talk about the family and everything, we still had the table set up that all the pictures were brought to sit at that table.
Right.
It's a
That
thing
was their
where,
table.
yeah, it was their spot. We said, you walk by, they're sitting here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's reserved. Yeah, so we kind of did the same thing, but we didn't have like reserved seats or tables for them. We just had a table that was the first thing you seen when you walked in was all the
Mhm.
people that we wanted to be there that couldn't make it.
Absolutely.
So
And it's
like
like
when
you
you
said, it's
walk.
just a way to make them. It's a way to remember them and a way to feel they're there without having to have that sadness
Hmm.
amongst you. Like I really wish I could see them right now. No, I can.
Yeah, and then I mean also like in a sense to give them what they wanted, which was to be there. You know.
Exactly.
Yeah. It lets you know that, or it lets them know that, hey, you you're thinking about them, and like, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah,
this is
you
how
thought
it
about
is.
them enough and care about them enough that you were willing to give them a spot that they couldn't make it to.
Yeah. Or could make it to. I don't know. I guess it depends on your religious beliefs, but either way.
Okay,
Exactly.
well, I mean, to be honest, if you could make it there, physically make it there, and you didn't, I kind of don't have respect for you because, I mean, anybody who's done a wedding, Skinner, you would know, Steven, you know, everybody that's been to one, seen one, been in one, you know how much planning you do, how long it
Oh man,
takes. And
years.
by the time you send out invitations, you still have months before the actual wedding. So if I tell you 8 months, hey, I need you on October 7th in 8 months, and you can't make that, what do you mean you can't make one day for me?
Hmm.
Like, I kind of don't have
Well, that's why
respect for you.
most weddings are RSVP'd like that because you
Dude,
physically have to.
I'm speaking from experience. Like, literally
Same
gave
here.
you 8 months in advance and you couldn't make it, dude. It pisses me off. I don't have respect for you.
Hey,
We
I
had one
had
the same, man.
I had like a year in advance, and I still couldn't make it. So.
There's a difference though. Like, you you physically could not. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I could not be
There was no walking up to your boss and saying, "Hey, I need October 7th off. I know I just got here and all, and like,
this
you
is how it
know,
is, but yeah, I gotta
like,
dip out
but hey,
for a little bit.
I gotta go like 2 states
I
back
got a
over."
got a thing.
Right. Like, no, you don't fucking don't. Like there's a
Right.
difference. There's a difference when it comes to you, but when it's somebody that's in your same state, especially somebody who's been working the same job since he was 18, like, bro,
Mhm.
come on, what do you mean? And it was on a weekend. You have weekends off. Why are you trying to make excuses now when it's in 8 months? I'm not hearing that, dude. I'm not hearing that. I'm not hearing. Like, there's certain exceptions. Yeah, like I said with Steven, like I would have killed for him to be there, but it's okay. He couldn't, he had no choice. Okay, well, he had a choice, but but
I could have made
you know,
it. I could have made it, but then
yeah.
you know.
It does actually kind of suck. Like, a little bit off topic, it does kind of suck because my wedding was October 7th, 2023, and where you were finishing. It was like what, the 22nd or something of the same month. It was like 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
So like, had we literally just like moved our shit back, or he went there a little bit sooner, it would have been like perfect lining up to where we would have got we would have got Steven there. But I'm not fucked up about it.
Yeah.
He was cheering me on from a couple states over.
I
So
was I was still there. I was still
And
there in
then-
spirit.
unlike him, I went to his big moment. So no.
Look, I couldn't fucking help it. All right, I couldn't help
No,
it.
it's fine. I did drive fucking 9 hours
With
straight
that being
on
said,
no
I did
sleep,
not
so.
expect you to do any of that. That was not a
No.
fucking like, oh, dude,
No.
he's got to be here. It was no, it was.
No, you honestly, with that, like you told me, you're like, it's not that big a deal. Like, you getting married was a way bigger deal. And I'm like, oh yeah, that was a really big deal. But like, what you're doing is a big deal too, bro. Like,
I still say that it wasn't. Anyway.
oh yeah.
Anyway.
If I can make your week better, which I did, can't lie, you told me. If I can make your week better by showing up for even an hour and seeing you for like 5 minutes and being able to actually talk to you for like 5 minutes, I'll take that any day of the week.
Yeah. It did help. It did help out.
I think
Anyway,
you're going through a lot,
Right. Let's get back on.
I could imagine the stress that you were going through, That's back on topic. That's a little bit of trauma. That's a lot of stress you were going through,
Oh yeah. And that you know what, that brings up something else too, right? Yeah, I was intentionally putting myself through trauma because of what I knew that I was going to be doing.
Mhm.
Like, for example, before. So I have an issue with death. I have a very comfortable yet uncomfortable relationship with death. I've had a lot of people die in my life, a lot of people close to me. And so if someone was to ever come into my life, my way of coping with it immediately is to think about what it would be like if they died or if they left.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
And it's so that I sort of desensitize myself to the idea if it ever does happen. With death, it's going to happen. It's a guarantee. But if they leave,
Right.
I can at least be prepared emotionally to be like, okay, I know what this feels like. I've already done my crying, my fucking, preparing, whatever.
Right.
I'm already prepared.
Yeah, I've done beat the trauma already.
Yeah, well, I've
that's-
already kind of sort of accepted living with it.
Right. Yeah,
That's
well,
what
because especially
desensitizing
with
things. Oh, sorry.
Right.
Go ahead.
No,
Okay, desensitizing things like to, in my own opinion, there, like, because I do the same thing quite often. I try to, desensitize them before they ever become a problem to me. I try to tell myself it's not, it's not there. It's not, or either I try to picture, the whole thing happening out in front of myself, so I'd know. Try to tell myself what would happen in my own mind. I try to play the whole scenario out. Try to
Right.
make it as if I know exactly what's going on to feel like I have control. Because then you feel like you can lay down, the ground rules to yourself, like this is coming. I don't have to have anxiety about this, when in all reality it can cause even more issues because now you've laid out a game plan. And if it if it crumbles at your foot right there, then now you go into even more of a panic because now you've played it out in your head. You've done everything. You're like, this is exactly what I know I would do. Why is it not happening?
Right.
And or it becomes a problem of and another emotional state of trauma that's not really looked at as a trauma, I guess, but you become completely numb to everything around you and you let things pile up to a point.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It
I would.
starts to
I would.
fester in.
I mean, I'd say that's an effect on yourself for trauma. You know.
I think for me, the reason why I really do it is because, so I don't expect it to happen, right? Like,
Mhm.
there's certain things that I really wish I would have done this with because it would have made it a lot easier. But, like, for example, when my grandfather passed away, that's really when I started doing it. I was like, all right,
Yep.
well, the next person that leaves my life, I'm going to be ready and I'm not going to feel this way anymore. It does still make
Hmm.
you feel that way, but you handle it a lot
Yep.
better. It's not such a
Yeah.
Absolutely.
surprise.
Being a little more mentally prepared for it.
No,
You know.
absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. You're mentally prepared. It doesn't, hit you out of left field. Um,
Yeah.
it's so easy. It's so much
That
easier to deal with then.
that definitely might be why, like, at first I handled losing my grandma so easy, is because once she got cancer, I'm like, okay, well, she is old. She just got hit with one that's probably gonna take her out this time. Like, we know it's gonna happen. You know. So that's probably why it was a little easier in the beginning. You know.
Hmm.
But I mean, for me, I think my problem is not not letting it out as much, so I just let it build.
Well, usually with desensitizing it too, it helps the lead up to the problem, like as far as like seeing the decline, but it never usually ends up helping with the actual loss itself.
Hmm.
Right.
Because once that hits, that's just a different type of mental toll that it takes. It doesn't. I mean, there's almost nothing. At least in personal experience. I mean, some people could be 100% different in this sense, but it still takes that toll regardless. Like you can't beat that
Oh
loss
yeah.
right there when it happens. You can't beat that emotional strike you take.
Oh yeah.
It
That cuts deep. You know.
it always tears a hole, regardless if you're ready to patch it or not. It tears a hole.
Oh yeah. Nothing. I mean, I just regardless of how much you mentally prepare yourself, nothing's ever gonna prepare you for the moment that it actually happens.
Right.
Whether
Yeah.
it's just whether it's just them walking away, like divorcing you, or
Yep.
ending the friendship. Like, it's not just death. You know.
Yeah, you can see the writing on the walls, but the moment of impact is always different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it, actually. Because like the moment, yeah, damn, that's a really good way. Because like you can always see the signs, right? But
Right.
Hmm.
but the moment they walk out, it's a different.
Oh yeah.
You start to believe the signs
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
because
because you
now
try to
Right.
deny them,
You
like
know.
you
You
said.
know.
You try to play it off, and then it happens, and
Right.
it's like what?
it's
Mm-hmm.
like damn, holy
You
fuck,
know your
okay.
you know your exit's 31B, but you don't know what that off ramp looked like.
Yeah, the moment you
You
get
know.
there, it's like a hairpin turn, and you're going a little too
Yeah.
fast.
Oh yeah. Now there's a roundabout, and you're like, what the hell?
Damn, dude, that's a good way to. That's a really good way to put it.
I know Skinner cut deep with that one.
Man,
Put that in the quotes, bro. That's quote of the episode.
we'll clip it later.
It's actually not quote of the episode, but you
No,
know,
we haven't got to
Yeah.
the quote of the episode yet, which
I don't know.
I mean, we can go ahead and say it.
We're talking about it. Might as well, you know.
So, the quote that we found or that I found, I'm gonna take credit for this one. I don't know who said it, but it is definitely a good definition of trauma and healing. But it's trauma is a result of an overwhelming sense of danger, powerlessness, and fear. Healing is the result of feeling safe, empowered, and supported. And I think, I mean that's that it just hits the nail on the head. To be honest,
Right. It definitely speaks for itself.
it really does. I mean, it needs no explanation at that point.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Shit, I'm reading it now, and I'm like, okay, well, I read it before, but now it's hitting different.
Yeah, well, you're saying it out loud now, you know?
It's true, yeah.
It goes
Yeah.
back to it's different writing something down or saying it out loud than just seeing it.
Mm-hmm. Thinking
Physically
about it.
reverberating it makes you think harder about it. You actually physically said it yourself. It has that the little bit of emotion to it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, that's how that's how it can affect you, you know?
Mm.
Because yeah, you're thinking about it. I mean, like even if it's just something small you're kind of dealing with, like you're just having a bad day, and you start talking to somebody about it, you start feeling better, or you maybe unfortunately you start feeling worse about it. But that just shows the effects that it can have on you when you actually like physically deal with it versus just mentally dealing with it. I mean, I'd say that's the point where you should start seeing the effects that it really does have on you.
That's a good point because both physical, emotional, and generational trauma, you can mentally deal with it all you want, but the
Mm-hmm.
moment that you actually sort of bring it to life and accept that it's there and start to see the pieces and start to put them together, like that's when like things start to change,
Yeah.
whether it be for better or worse. Hopefully for
Right.
better, but
Yeah, that's the whole point of you trying to bring it to life, and put it out there is, you know, you might not see it, but that's your way of asking for help,
mm-hmm.
you know.
Damn.
And and I mean, it's it's the opposite of when you don't put it out there and how other people see it and they want to help, but you're not letting them help, or they don't want to ask you if you need it because you're not asking, because maybe they're afraid on how you're going to react when they're like, hey, I've been seeing you, dealing with some of this and that. So I mean, either way it goes, you got to see the effects it's going to have on the people around you.
Which oftentimes is
Some of the
way
hardest
more
things
than
to
what
see.
you expect. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely way more than what you expect. Because they could not even be telling you that, the emotional problems that you're having, the emotional trauma you're having, is causing them trauma. Or your physical trauma is causing them emotional trauma. You might not even know it.
Damn.
That's why we say our biggest thing every episode, our biggest thing is communication, because it stems to all of it, dude.
It really does.
It can cause each one of those personally,
Mm-hmm.
like just it can stem off of that. Primarily, just communication can cause either one a physical or emotional problem throughout
Mm-hmm.
anything in your life, work, relationships, family, anything of that nature can be affected just from communication.
Mm-hmm. Good or
And it
bad,
can be, yeah, and in an instant. It doesn't have to be over a long-term argument, things like that. It can be changed in just a single word, single text, single, phrase.
Right. I mean, even the physical communication, and you know what I mean by that, right? Like you're 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 showing these signs as a cry for help because you don't know how to say it. Again, that's why we say all the time that communication is the biggest thing. It's like the first step you have to take to get the help that you want or need. You might not want it, but you might need it,
Even if
especially when it comes to trauma.
even if it's just like simple stuff. Like a lot of the times, something that I've kind of realized, even if you don't want to admit your problems or admit like the shit that you're going through, a lot of the times just starting a conversation, even if it's not even around that, oftentimes
Right.
it'll be brought up anyway. And anyone
Right.
that you talk to, if they give like two shits about you or just have like a decent amount of emotional intelligence, they'll pick up on it really quickly and be like, okay, what's really going on?
Right.
Let's ask these questions.
Exactly.
I think it's also like very important in that sense too to surround yourself with people who you know that can do that. Not people who are just going to be like, "Well, damn, that sucks," and then just stop the conversation.
And that is, dude, for anybody who does that, if you are listening to this podcast and you are that person, you need to change the way you present yourself to others, talk to others. You need to change that because that is the worst thing to do. Is to sit there and look at Steven when he's opening up to you and telling you, dude, I've been going through this and that, and you just go, damn, that sucks, bro. He just came to you for help. That is not what he wanted. That is
Yeah.
not what he needed.
And for me to just hear you say something that I already know and give me a half-assed answer,
Right. Like, dude, I know it sucks. I'm fucking dealing with it.
very
Help
aware
me.
of that. Why do you think that I'm fucking talking to you about it? I need you to help
Yeah.
me. That's the whole point is I need you to help me.
Yeah, especially when it, dude, especially when it gets to that point of it not just being a problem, but a trauma, you know?
Yeah, because I mean, and yeah, I think that's a good time for us to define the difference between a problem and a trauma, right? Because like a problem isn't necessarily like a fear or just like being powerless. You know, it
Right.
could just be something very simple that you know you have power over, but you have to deal with it. Just a situation in your life that just needs your attention. That could be a problem.
Right. Yeah.
But the idea of a trauma where it's like you are scared, you don't know if
Hmm.
you can deal with this. You, I mean,
Yeah.
you might be
Like,
literally in danger, you know?
right. I was about to say, you might think it's like, it's to that point that it's going to be dangerous.
I think having a trauma like that and then having someone respond in that sense, you probably just need to get help from somewhere else and then get get that person out of your life.
Yeah, that professional help, especially.
Yeah. Ultimately,
And I
like,
mean,
yeah, when your friends cannot, or who you say your friends are, when they can't help you, definitely seek professional help for that because
yeah.
I
But you should
mean,
also realize that, like, if you've been going to these friends and they keep not being able to help you, and it's obvious because they don't care, then they shouldn't be your friends.
no, you're right. They really
You
shouldn't,
know?
especially if they're keeping you around for one specific thing and it's just to
Right.
benefit them and not you.
Now with
Um,
the go ahead.
no, you're good.
I was
Just
gonna say
wrap it up.
with the problems and like trauma, like all of your little problems, big problems, or whatever, can all lead into being trauma. You know, it's just like it's the best way. Not the best way. It's the best thing is just to like figure out how you got to deal with those little problems so they don't get to being traumatic to you. You know, because like I don't know what am I trying to say here? It's hard to explain, but it's like
I think what you're trying to say is sort of like any small problem can become a big problem.
well,
You
yeah, but
know,
I'm like dealing with them, you know.
like without like proper attention to small problems, they start to grow, and then eventually, yeah,
Yeah.
it can become
Well,
traumatic,
because
like you said.
when yeah, because when all the little problems become traumatic, it's kind of hard to just deal with all of them as a whole, you know. I guess that this just goes back to what we've said before, like taking it a step at a time, you know. Sometimes it has to be a slow battle, you know. You dig at one at a time. You cross out one problem at a time, and it still might be traumatic even later. You know, you still might reflect on it later, but you know the goal is that at the end of it, you're not you're not so held up on it anymore that all these little problems became so traumatic. You're just like, you know what? Like it still sucks that I went through that. It hurt a lot. It still kind of hurts, but you know, I'm better knowing now that I dealt with them than that I wasn't dealing with them.
You said something just now that kind of made me really think about this again. And I haven't thought about it in a long time, but it's the idea that going through problems, especially loss, it doesn't get easier. And I need to explain that. It doesn't get easier, but the way that you handle it gets better.
Yeah.
Because
Oh yeah.
when you lose someone that you love, it's always gonna fucking like be hard, especially at first.
Mm-hmm.
But
Especially at first.
but you grow as a person, and you learn how
Yeah.
to deal with those emotions. You learn how to deal with those thoughts a
Yeah.
lot easier over time. Because like realistically, and I never understood this when I was a kid, but realistically, time does heal a lot of things. It might not heal everything, but it heals a lot of things.
Right.
And over
And it
time, it sort of gets easier to cope with the idea of like, hey, this person walked out. Hey, this person passed away.
right.
Excuse me.
But see, that's the thing, like you were saying, to cope with it. Like, yeah, it still sucks, but you can continue going on knowing that like it sucks, but I'm fine, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I like honestly on my deathbed, I will look back and I'll see my grandfather's death, and I'll be like, damn, this sucks, but I'm okay.
Right.
I'll be okay.
And that's like one of the biggest things to realize when you're going through a lot of that stuff, you know. When you start to get better is realizing, it still probably hurts. I mean, it still hurts every day that I don't have my grandma, but it we said we would never say this, but I say it all the time. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I can't bring her back, and that's okay, you
Certain
know.
things you have no effect over.
And then especially with a death, like I would say like what helps me the most, and maybe even Steven, is the fact that they would not want us to stop going on. They would want us to keep going and doing better, not doing worse, you know.
Yeah. Like imagine. So what? The biggest thing that helps me is like imagine that they're like standing with you right now, and imagine what they would say about what you're doing. Would they
Mhm.
be proud of what you're doing?
Mhm.
Would they be upset of what you're
I think
doing to yourself and with the world and with your life?
yeah. I think about that a lot.
Yeah, that helps to
With
affect a lot of my decisions, to be honest, because then I have that like little voice in the back of my mind that's like, maybe you shouldn't do this. Maybe you should think twice about this.
right, or that voice is saying like, dude, you're doing great. Like keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, that positive
You know?
reinforcement.
Exactly.
Like I
Like
think,
the thing I hear in my head the most from my grandma is don't do nothing stupid. She would say it all the time, you know. So I hear that a lot when I'm like even when I'm just like down on myself, like where I'm just like, man, like work has been hard. I don't have these things. I don't have this thing. Like I'm just tired of it. I'm exhausted. It's like my grandma's just sitting in the back seat of my car going, "Boy, if you don't do stop it. Don't do nothing stupid." like like I'm scared. She's like to me in that moment, I'm in the back seat of the car actually, and she's about to turn around and smack the shit out of me for doing something wrong.
just fucking.
And I'm scared now. Like
No, I think for me it, and I haven't really put the pieces together until now, but I remember. I don't remember if I said it on the podcast, but I remember telling you, like my grandpa used to take me to the skate park when I was little, and he would always tell me get up and try again. And so I think now that's like the thing that I hear in my mind. And that's the thing that I tell my kids too. Is just like, hey, you fall, get up, try again.
No, absolutely.
It's a I hate to say get over it, but
Well, you just can't let a moment define you.
yeah, you can't. The moment that you're like, I'll never be able to do this, you'll continuously think about that.
Hmm.
You'll think about how hard it is always for you to do whatever.
You only realize that you failed at something the moment you quit trying.
Yeah. Or in
You
other
haven't
words,
failed until you give it up at all. Like, you know, you're always still in the action of succeeding.
exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. That's what I was about to say. The only, the only time you ever really fail is when you quit.
Yeah.
And it's easy to quit. It's so easy to quit.
It's so easy to quit, especially when like things are not going right, you know, when you've done fixed the door 7 times and that thing still squeaks, bro. It's so easy to just be like, you know what? It squeaks for the rest of my life. I don't care.
Fuck it. I'm
It's
done
so
with
easy to
it.
say
Yeah,
that.
I'm
Yeah,
tired of it.
instead of being like, you know what? I'm just gonna go buy a new door.
Yeah. Maybe it was the door that was the problem. Maybe it
Yeah.
wasn't how you were fixing it.
Mm-hmm.
Which it's a good metaphor for certain relationships.
Yeah.
I'm actually really glad you said that because I had dealt with the same thing. I kept trying to be someone else.
Yeah.
And the moment that I was like, you know what? Stop. Be yourself.
Right.
And then it still was getting worse. And then, you know, in a sense, like it was like what you said. Maybe it's not the way you're fixing it. Maybe it's the door itself.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, that's something to get fucking tattooed. That should be on a billboard somewhere, man.
Door's squeaking for the rest of my life.
Maybe it's the door. Maybe the door is the
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's also like I said, like, and this wasn't ever said on the podcast. Well, maybe it has been. I don't know, but it's like you're trying, they're not trying, and then sometimes you just got to step back and see if they are also going to try at the same time as you when it comes to relationships, you know.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the door can squeak, but are you and the door gonna work on not squeaking together? You know, because the door might be mad at you because you've been
I know
squeaking.
Skinner. He could have probably come up with a different metaphor than that.
The door could be squeaking and you're squeaking, but nah, like seriously though, like
No, I get it.
eh,
I get it.
Hmm.
because I
If you're not coinciding together, like you're not on the same page,
right,
you know,
right,
then what it you just got a squeaky ass fucking house. You know what I
mm-hmm,
mean? So, and obviously no one wants a squeaky house.
yeah,
Not unless it looks nice and it's fucking old as shit.
yeah. You got one of them old Louisville houses, boy.
Old Louisville houses, yeah. Someone told me about my accent the other day. I was like, you know
Yeah,
what? I don't care. You're not from there, so you don't know
you
what
should
it's
have been like,
like.
I got trauma about this.
I got trauma. Yeah.
Oh man,
But
I'm
no,
sorry, y'all. That's not funny.
no. In all seriousness, no. That's probably been the most traumatic event that I've ever experienced was the fact of having a betrayal and then
Yeah,
it being extremely hard to come back from.
yeah.
Mhm.
But
They like realizing that relationship or that whatever wasn't gonna work anymore.
yeah, especially after fucking 10, 11 years, you know. That's a
Oh
long
yeah.
time. Anything
Hmm.
over like a couple of years is a long time when
It
it
feels like a
comes to a
lifetime,
relationship.
dude.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then to try to to come back and be like, you know what, let's figure it out and then like get shot down is also like equally is traumatic.
Oh, that's very traumatic, you
And
know.
I think the thing that sort of got me, and you know, we talked about it earlier on, the thing that kind of got me through it was like, all right, these are lessons that I've learned. This is what I don't want.
Mhm.
So let me go look for what I do want.
Yeah,
Find what I do want. It just sucks that it took me that long to
to
figure that out.
realize. Oh, yeah.
And I mean, sometimes that's how it happens. Sometimes the shit needs to cut deeper than what you initially think to,
But see,
you know,
the
to
big
make an
thing
effect.
is you're not beating yourself up about it taking that long to come to the fact, like to come to the conclusion. You know,
No, not at all.
it's
Like I will never at all say that, hey, I regret this. Hey, I wish that I would have spent my time better. I want
Right.
to go
Mhm.
back and change it. Like, never. No.
It's yeah. Right.
Well,
It's
it's
yeah.
also like to touch back on what we like kind of talked about with loss in general, like with loss of someone death wise to loss of someone relationship or betrayal wise, like that. It's kind of weird how like in most senses people find themselves in a loss of a relationship, find themselves avoiding doing things they did in their everyday life. Like they both change you significantly as a person. But a lot of times with like relationships, you find yourself not going back to the same places, not doing the same activities, not wanting to at all.
Yeah.
Oh
Versus a
yeah.
death, versus a death, you find yourself looping back into the same activities to keep that memory alive. You
Hmm.
Oh
find
yeah.
yourself going back to the same bar you always went to, going back to the same restaurant or something of that nature, versus you will never go to that same restaurant again because all you can think about is the good times that were there.
Oh yeah. That
That
every Sunday night dinner night.
that's a
Yeah.
that's a good point to be made too, because that just goes to show you that it it's equally painful, but it's a different kind of pain.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of loss.
Yeah.
It's
And
it's two
one
different
you want
sides
to
of the spectrum.
yeah, one you want to keep, and the other one you want to get rid of as fast as possible.
Yeah. One
Mm.
you're erasing memories, one you're preserving with everything you have left.
Yeah.
It's it's
And I
it's
think
it's
for
crazy he mentions it like that because that's completely two different ways that you're dealing with that trauma. You know.
yeah.
Mhm.
So that I mean that just shows that it depends on the circumstance of the what caused the trauma and how you deal with it.
Hmm. I think for
And a lot of
me,
people don't even realize. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think for me, like the loss of relationship, right? Like I've always, obviously I've, well, not obviously, but I've lost a lot of people in my life, relationship wise. And I think every time that I just I sort of do the same thing, right? Like I sort of get rid of a memory that I don't like and then preserve a memory that I do. It's kind of a mixture of both. I think each and every time it's like for me it's like a lesson to be learned.
Mhm.
Mainly
Hmm.
because like if I take this into the next one, then history is gonna repeat itself.
Right.
Yep.
And that's the thing, you're learning from the lessons and realizing what you did right, what you did wrong, or
Hmm.
what baggage you don't want to bring and you
It
know.
goes back to generational curses. It's not even like a generational curse per se, but it's baggage you're bringing to the next relationship in the sense of
Hmm.
generational. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the same hand in hand. You bring baggage into the next relationship that you drug out from a past relationship that, they betrayed you. Well, now you have a wall up, and this person has to work 3 times to 4 times as hard to gain you as the person you
Right.
were to the previous.
Right.
Yeah.
To just break a brick down,
Mhm.
is hard.
Yeah, and the hardest part is you can tear down 10 bricks and they rebuild that wall just twice as fast as they started with.
Yeah.
Right. I think
All
it's crazy that we mentioned that because I feel like with me and you, Steven, when we got a little older and like you moved away, it wasn't very far. When I look at it now, I'm kind of like, damn, was he like lightweight pushing me away, and I just wasn't letting him, you know? Because you were just so used to it that you were just like, it's gonna happen at one point anyway. Because like personally, that's kind of how when I look at it now, that's kind of how. Well, I mean, it's not like you maybe didn't intentionally mean to do that, but you know, because me and you've had these conversations where you're like, yeah, I was friends with him for a while, and now I haven't talked to him in years. So then that gets me thinking, like, dang, bro, he didn't talk to me for like a good
you
solid
start
year or something. But he also just had a kid, so I was like, all right, give him his space. He's a father now. Like, I'm not mad that he's not hitting me up.
when that
But
goes like you're
you
trying to
know,
build a wall with a without a blueprint. You're building a whole foundation for a problem that wasn't there, in your own mind because now you
mm-hmm,
don't have that reassurance there.
mm-hmm,
You're like I said, you're building the wall with no blueprint. You have nothing there to base it off of except for your own, you know, twisted like thought about it, your twisted
right,
perspective at the time.
right. See, I got him thinking really hard about it, and I
Dude,
could be
yeah,
wrong.
you do. You do because the
I could
thing
be wrong,
well, the
and
thing
I
about it
feel
is
bad,
like I've
but
never had a friendship like me and you have a friendship, right? Like I've never developed it to this
mm-hmm,
extent.
and I'm aware of that because you've told me on multiple occasions, and that's why it's like when we had that, like, it was like 2 years, I think, where we just was like once in a blue moon where it was like, what you been doing? Oh, nothing. And we talked for like 10
Yeah.
minutes over text, and then we just stopped texting for another 3 months, you
Yeah.
know? So like, yeah, I do kind of look back at that and I'm just like, bro, was that a sign that he was like not trying to push me away, but like he was building that wall that he might not have known?
Well, it kind of
And-
makes me think about like the fact that I've never had a best friend, and
Right.
then and that like all the friends that I've ever had in my life kind of didn't stick around.
Mm-hmm.
So
You
it
know?
it kind of just shows a mental block that you actually kind of had there for yourself. It's a
Yeah.
protection system where you didn't want to engage too deeply because if you did, you felt like if it ever broke down, it was
It was
going to
gonna
be
be easier.
devastating at that point.
Yeah, it was gonna be easier to
It's
deal
easy.
with that if we weren't friends anymore.
It was easier to walk away from if you didn't attach yourself.
Where now we've gotten to the point where, I mean, regardless of who decides that we're not friends, the other person is gonna be heavily distraught about it.
Yeah, bro. If we fell off, like regardless of the reason, it didn't matter. It would be like the death of a loved one.
Yeah, I
It really
I
would
just
be.
know
I
because
think
of
at
how
first
close
it'd
we
be like,
are.
man, all right, fuck it, whatever. And then
Right.
like a little bit down the road, when when the other person's like starting to deal with problems and shit, it'd be like, damn,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have him to talk to
Mm-hmm.
anymore.
Well, I mean, the good
Um,
thing is because of how close we are and how well we know each other, is we would fight so hard for it to not happen. You know,
Yeah,
even if it came to the point where we were like, all right, let's agree to disagree and move on.
yeah. Because I mean, we got a bunch of differences.
Oh, a lot, you know.
We
But
just
the
don't
the
ever focus on them. We don't hyper focus on them
right,
anymore.
yeah, and I mean, it's not that it's bad that we have differences. You know, you're not gonna always
well,
have the same thing in common.
that's because, when you've spent so long without having that best friend, thinking that you were the one person that just always had people leave on you, you start getting so good at building walls, you forget how to build doors for people to come through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I built that door for you, didn't I? No.
Damn, that's good. That's another good way to put it. Like you spend most of your time building a wall. You forget how to build a doorway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you didn't think about building that door at all, you know. And I mean, like Skinner said, you're building that wall without a blueprint, dude.
Mhm.
You're
Yeah,
just
That's what
throwing
happens.
them up. You're like, you
throwing
know
them up.
what? That
Yeah,
person did that to me, and I don't want to have. I don't want it to happen again. I'm gonna throw that up.
let me throw another
You know.
brick up. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And you get done, you're like, hold on. That's I ain't letting nobody in. I guess. You know.
How
And
do
it
I
goes to
get
the
out?
reverse. Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
the reverse of, like you said, you thought he was maybe pushing you away and building the wall in the same sense of not wanting that attachment. It's the same thing. Now you're detaching yourself by building those bricks up and telling yourself there was a
Yeah.
problem there. So now you can
Mm-hmm.
detach without feeling that emotional connection.
Yeah, it's a
Right.
self-fulfilling prophecy.
And I mean,
Hmm.
like I said, if he wasn't, and it was just one of those things where like I said, he had a kid, so he was just more focused on that. Like, I feel bad that I was thinking that, you know,
No,
because
like
it's a fucked up thing to think that like
it's
you
very valid,
you
It's
know,
a very valid
right.
feeling.
But like the way I feel about it, it's like, I just said that, and I'm just like, and if the answer was no, and you were like, nah, bro, I was just really focused on something else. It just slipped my mind. Now I'm like, dang, bro, I really thought he was. I feel bad.
Cause
Like,
it's
What's
funny too because I remember that point in time, and my
mhm.
daughter was just she was about to be born,
Yeah,
and
I just started living here.
I remember sending you a shit ton of like songs and videos of like Kid Cudi. We were like
Hmm.
fucking what's the word? We were like relating back over music and
Right.
stupid games or whatever it was at the
finding
time.
common ground again?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we were learning to become friends again after the fact of me
Right.
going on like a sort of a hiatus.
I wanna ask you a question. So I want to know if you actually remember, because I remember this, and I know exactly where I was when we had this conversation. Because it was after where we hadn't really talked to each other like we do now, or prior. Um, the day that it was a phone call where it like sparked it back up, bro. Do you remember that conversation? It was a phone call for sure. I remember that.
What was said during the phone call?
I remember one specific thing that you said that still to this day I'm like, holy shit.
That doesn't tell me what the thing was said. Like,
I want you to tell me if you know what was said.
we've had multiple conversations that have been like that.
So
I don't remember. I remember one time that was during the winter. I was sitting on the back of my my grandma's porch, and we were on the phone for like
no,
fucking 3 hours.
no, this was you was up in Indiana. We hadn't seen each other forever. We were like barely talking back and forth. We weren't even really playing the game with each other because I think at that point I had went to PC and you just didn't have a laptop that was like or a computer in general that was good enough to even play anything. But anyway, since you don't necessarily remember off the top of your head, I think you called me or I called you. I don't even remember, but we started off with like, "What you been doing, bro? Like it's been forever since we even seen each other. We need to hang out." This man hits me with because I was like, "Well, what have you been doing?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm in school now. I've been doing this. I've been doing that." And I was like, "Hold on, shut the fuck up. You said what? You're in college now?" Took me by surprise. I'll never forget that.
Okay, I know where I was at the time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Well, what are you going to college for?" And when he said psychology, I was like, "What? Hold on. Like now we got to backtrack again. Okay, one more time. Quit talking because what? You said what now? You're going to school for what?" I'll never forget that conversation. And of course, I'll never forget the conversation when it was like 8 o'clock in the morning and it was 2 hours long. And
Yeah.
then you came over to my house.
Or the one that my windshield got busted and you were like, "Hey, you need me to pull up? I got you. Hold up."
I was already in the car, dude.
It was like
Yeah.
5 a.m. Bro was about to go to work. It was like 5 a.m. And I was like,
Mhm.
"Yeah, my windshield just got busted out." And the first thing he was like, "Do you need me to pull up? Like, you need me over there?"
All right. You need backup, my guy?
That literally kind of fucked me up because I had just got
Yeah.
it the a lot of you don't know, I got all of my teeth pulled, like all of my top teeth pulled the day before, and I had gotten dentures put in. And the day right after that next morning, fucking my windshield gets busted in, and he's and that conversation happened, and it's like
Somebody
really
threw a rotor at his windshield.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, a whole ass
a
rotor.
rotor at your wow.
But see, like just from those little bits that we just said right there, like that's a big part of why I was like, was this man pushing me away for them like 2 years when he was with old girl and the kid and like was he? You know?
It's weird because I can't sit here and say yes or no.
Right. But I mean, it's also
Wait,
because like we went from living together, seeing each other every day, talking every day, like I mean, everything together to like slowly just like splitting off, doing our own thing, which is good, you know, like we were both building our own little family, our own little life. But it was just like we were both just like not including each other in that life
I think,
for a hot second.
to be honest, and this might sound bad, but I think it's the truth. I think I was sort of just taking your presence for granted a little bit because I knew that even though, like, whatever I was about to go do, if I needed to fucking hit you up, I knew you would eventually hit me back.
Right.
So I was sort of taking you for granted,
Yeah.
and I wasn't, you know.
Yeah,
I think
because you
I
knew I
think
would have
we
pulled
I
up.
think I was like intentionally putting the the like the relationship on pause,
Right.
but I never really thought about it until now.
Sort of
Yeah.
complacency becomes toxic to relationships too. You know, complacency is a killer for a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I
Feeling
mean,
like you're comfortable where you're at.
I wouldn't even call it complacent because like like you said, we both had a lot going on in our lives at the time.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
So I mean,
I mean, like I said,
it wasn't like we're being lazy in a sense, because we were focused on other things. But at the
Right.
same
yeah,
time, it was like, all right, we have this little thing that we can always come back to.
right. And the
Which
thing
I mean,
too
it
is like
still
we,
sounds bad, right? It's like I get what you're
right.
saying when you say complacency. It still sounds bad.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I mean, we also, I mean, maybe not completely realized it, but we definitely knew the road went both ways because there was times where I wouldn't hit you up for a while, you'd hit me up. You wouldn't hit me up for a while, I'd hit you up.
Yeah, yeah. It was
You know?
definitely it was a mutual thing. It wasn't like a,
Right.
and it wasn't
But it
ever
was,
like we fell out either. That was another sort of thing.
yeah,
Because it would have been different if it was like
Right.
something happened and we fell out. No, it was just
yeah. It
nah. We
was,
just stopped talking for a brief moment.
yeah. It was literally like he moved away. I moved out of my mom's house, moved into
Mhm.
here, and then we just weren't talking every day. Also, you were like 2.5 hour drive away. You know.
Yeah,
So like part of me was like, well, if I hit him up to hang out, it's probably going to be a no anyway because of how far he has to go. And then what? He drives here in 2.5 hours. We hang out for 3 or 4, and then he drives back. Like I'm not going to make him do that,
yeah.
and I'm not going to do that.
It's interesting though. It's interesting to think about it now.
It is crazy because I mean it was on both parts that we were
Hmm.
that we were. I wouldn't say we were pushing each other away. Like definitely wasn't that.
No,
But I mean,
I
the
definitely
nature of life does do that.
I definitely
Yeah,
think that we were putting each other on the back burner,
right.
but
I think that's
never
also
like fully turning it off. You know?
I think that's also the point where we both like grew up, bro. We
Mm-hmm.
were like, all right, dude, like we just spent X amount of time being fucking stupid, not caring about nothing, doing this, doing that.
Yeah.
Like, all right, now it's time that we actually got to take it serious. So I think that's probably like a big part of why we just weren't really hitting each other up because it was like, all right, you're having a kid, getting a job, I'm getting a job, moving into a different house. Like,
Because
we
I
were
mean,
being
Well, a lot of that,
adults.
let's be
yeah, a lot of
honest.
that time of being an adult is self growth and evaluation too. You have to take time to yourself to figure out things too, and sometimes it's hard to fit in other people into that schedule. It's hard to
Right.
stop and you don't. It's not that you don't care. It's that you forget at times to even think to text them and be like, hey, I did this today. Whatever. Just small messages can even become to a point where it's just fleeting your mind.
Exactly. Whereas our
And let's be
messages was
honest,
like,
dude.
look at what I got.
If we would have fucking kept hanging out, we would have kept in the same cycle that we were doing.
Yeah.
That like
I don't
child
think,
sort of cycle and never really
yeah,
grow fully.
I don't think we would have gotten to where we are you know, as soon as we did. Like we'd still
No.
be trailing. I think we'd still be trailing a little bit behind where we are now.
Yeah, I
Because at
think
some
yeah,
point
we
we
would have
would have
got there
definitely
eventually.
grew up. You know.
I think it was definitely necessary in our friendship to
Yeah.
take that little break. And I've
It's
met people who have done the same thing and they came back on the other end
yeah.
just like we did. Like we came back stronger.
Right. And the thing is neither one of us like did it intentionally. It just happened. You know.
That's what's weird. Is yeah, it was
Right.
just something that happened.
Right. But I mean, you see where I come from for like thinking that way when you've told me countless times, not even just on this episode alone, like in person, over the phone, like in private in general. Like you even telling me about like the friends that you lived with for a little bit while you were out there. Then I mean, you even really talk to them anymore, you know?
No, I don't talk to either of them.
And that's like where I was like getting my thought process of like when I look back at it now, of course, where I was like, damn, this motherfucker really pushing me away, bro. We was good friends. Like, God dang. I was upset. I was heartbroken. No, I wasn't. I wasn't. I realized we were both doing our own thing and taking
Yeah.
care of what we needed to take care of.
It's definitely interesting that you bring it up though.
Yeah, I'm definitely off topic of what we were supposed to talk about here, but it hit me and I had to say it.
I mean, yes and no, right?
Yeah.
Because like trauma doesn't necessarily have to be last
bad. Yeah. Or even bad like that, you know? Because it's not necessarily like it's traumatic to me that that happened. You know?
But it's still obvious as an event that stuck with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's not one of those like, oh, I'm gonna beat myself up about it. I'm gonna
Well,
hold
no,
on to it forever.
it
You know?
hasn't festered with you, but it sat there long enough for you to think about it.
Right.
Well, if we use this quote as the definition, which I know it's not the definition, but like an overwhelming sense of danger, powerlessness, and fear. I'm
Hmm.
sure you felt one of those things during that time.
Yeah. Oh
And
yeah. Definitely. Like, dude, I lost a good friend. He's never gonna hang out with me again.
And it's the fear of,
human nature to make reason of it.
yeah.
Hmm. Just for him to be like, yeah, so I need a place to stay for the month. All right, bro, come on.
Well, just as much as humans seek a purpose, humans seek the reasoning behind things.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be regardless of what you do. I mean, it's as simple as at your job. You wanna, if you do like things like I do, working with your hands all day, you want to know exactly how things work down to the last detail, even if it's not gonna help you in any way, shape, or form. At that point, it's just in your human curiosity to want to know now.
Right. I mean, that's a good skill to have in general, because like, you know, you're sitting there trying to figure out, you know, how what's wrong with your car, and then you're
Mhm.
fixing the engine or whatever. You know, you're learning problem solving skills, you know, and
Mhm.
that can translate straight over to dealing with a mental problem, you know.
It
It
can.
helps to make you want to look at things from multiple angles.
Oh yeah.
Or social
That's another thing. You can't
situations.
ever,
That's a
yeah,
big
you
one.
never want to look at things through one set of eyes because I mean it makes you just as
Right.
blind to the problem as the next person if you don't look at it from both sides. If you
Hmm.
don't, if he doesn't see it from your side in that one scenario, just to say, if he sees it as he was doing his best to keep communication and you see it as nothing was happening there, it was a one-sided street, then and you both are, hard-headed about it, you'll never meet a resolve. You'll never meet in the middle. It'll always just be you didn't want this and I did.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's when it can turn into being traumatic, you know.
Hmm.
Stephen carrying his baggage with our relationship. No.
You know what? You've mentioned baggage a few times during this episode, and I just want to bring up something that I had seen the other day.
We all
And
have
it
mentioned
was
baggage.
it was a video, and it was a more modern day pastor, and he was talking about baggage and about how so I'm not Christian. I don't necessarily believe in like the Christian God, but he was talking about how God handles baggage, and he said so I got all this baggage right here in front of me, and he had a bunch of these suitcases and shit. And he was like, but
Hmm.
I'm trying to get into this relationship with this person, but I have all this baggage. And he was like, he used the metaphor of getting on a plane. He said, when you get on a plane, what do you do with your baggage? You check it.
Yeah.
But I need it. But I'm going to check it. I'm going to trust these people that they're going to put it on the plane and it's going to be there when I land. And he was like, you got to do the same thing. Like you got to trust that these people are going to take this baggage and they're going to handle it properly.
Right.
And
Right.
when you need it, it's going to be there. When
Right.
it's time
Hmm.
for you to deal with it, it's going to be there for you to deal with it.
Right.
But they're not going to sit here and be like, "Damn, you're a shit piece of you're like a piece of trash because you have all this baggage because like
Yeah.
you have a pink
Right.
suitcase or because like of whatever, you know what I mean? Like you got to trust that like when you get into a relationship, that's not going to happen."
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it could be a good thing to bring that baggage with you, because you find the right person that's willing to help you work through it. You
Hmm.
know.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is, but it's always, you always got to work on it yourself as well. You always got to find your own
Right.
ways of dealing with it
Oh
before
yeah,
you
yeah.
try to come into
Yeah.
someone else and depend on them to find the ways for you.
Right. And that's what I
Oh
You
mean by
need,
like help you work it.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
absolutely.
yeah. You can't use the other person as like a crutch to
Right.
deal with your own baggage. Like that's your job to deal with.
Yeah. Because that's, I mean, that's wrong on your end to
Well,
do to them. You
that's where it
know.
starts to affect other people because now you're projecting that onto them and it can cause a splint in
Hmm.
the relationship that you have with them.
Right. Now, let's say they never had that baggage and they pick it up because of you.
Hmm. Now they have that emotional
know?
trauma stuck with them because you projected it on them and you did the
Yeah.
same things that happened to you to them because you felt like they should
Right.
have helped you through it.
Yeah, now you're just spreading it, So you're moving on to the next person doing the same thing.
And now you're just a fucking like a virus.
Yeah,
Walking
moving
Yeah,
on to the
it's no
next person
longer
with more.
generational, it's just trauma disease.
Right.
trauma disease. That's a good way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, Skinner.
Bro, he's been cooking tonight.
Bro's about to just fucking replace me on Whispered Reflection. It's just,
You don't want that, dude.
It's just gonna be you and Link.
You don't want that. We've already showed before recording what that's like.
Yeah, he goes south fast.
It's gonna
Yeah.
be nothing but memes.
Yeah.
All right. With that being
Yeah.
said, that's the episode. It didn't go as deep as I thought, but it went as deep as I think that it needed to.
Yeah.
So
We also talked about some personal things, which is nice to have. So, because it definitely gives the people watching, listening, like something to relate to instead of just like, oh, these guys are always just talking about how to deal with this and the examples of this, like,
Yeah. Skinner, it was nice to have you on. It was good to hear
Actually,
a third person's perspective because me and Alex kind of bounce off of each other, so it's nice to have that little interjection.
so thank you guys for having me.
If you're watching this live, you're not watching it, or if you're watching it live, it's gonna be up in a couple weeks if you want to rewatch it, or if you missed any part of it.
Yeah.
We're kind of
Next Monday.
No, actually,
Next Monday is when it goes up.
no. it's
5
not.
goes this Monday.
No, we're kind of stacked on the schedule, Red.
4's already out. Is it not?
Is it? I don't think it is.
You upload them. I don't know.
I don't think it is.
Nope. Okay, so it'll be a couple weeks.
Yeah, it'll be we're kind of ahead on of schedule. So
You're gonna get 4 on Monday, 5 next Monday, and then this one
Okay.
the following Monday.
yeah, so next month.
Yep.
Sometime next month. But
So thank you guys for watching it live and catching it early.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you get a first-hand look on what it's like to record some of these episodes. Some of this shit's hard.
Before we sign it out here, if anybody enjoyed Skinner's presence, we'll have his Twitch link posted below on Spotify, YouTube, whatever. So if you want to, watch him play video games, hang out with me on a less serious note, we'll go ahead and link him if you want to throw support his way too.
Definitely, most definitely.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's about it.
Once again, like we always say, I love each and every one of you, and be better today than you were yesterday.
That's exactly right. Love you, bye.
Love you, bye.